Well, today, I'm going to follow up on the moment for mission that Billy started with, and talk a little bit about new churches. And I want to talk about new churches. Usually, I don't follow up on this, but this is kind of an important one. You know, they have a whole series of special offerings through the year, and it got to the point where trying to do them all was kind of confusing. And I wanted to highlight this one, because it's not just about something that's going on. I think it affects us. So today is a day when we talk about new churches. And I want to kind of lift up, again, I want to lift up what goes on in the churches we're part of, the Disciples of Christ. About 10 years ago now, they had this idea that they were going to start 1,000 new churches in 20 years, which is kind of a crazy idea. But they said, well, we'll buy into this. Today, they're halfway through, and out of the 1,000, they've got 640 new churches that started in the last 10 years. And the first thing that crosses your mind, maybe, and one of the reasons it was such a strange idea, our church is all about, we're all Christians, right? We say we're only Christians on our sign out there, but we're not the only Christians. So why do we need to start a whole bunch of new churches? Well, the answer is we're starting new churches for people who aren't really fitting into the churches that there are. We're starting new churches for people who aren't being touched by the churches that are around them. You can find a church on every street corner, almost everywhere in this country. And there's still a lot of people who can't make a connection with any of these churches that are out there. And so even today, we're starting new churches. And for the disciples, a lot of those new churches are churches that are reaching out to different groups of immigrants who have come into the U.S. These are some pictures of people. These are all different pastors who have begun churches. There's a man from Samoa who was a pastor in Samoa, and he came here and found a community and wanted to begin a church. And he started his own little church, and he decided, I really need to be connected with something bigger than just my one little building and my one little community. He wanted to be part of something bigger. And so all these different stories. We have people from Korea and Haiti and Puerto Rico, Mexico, all around the world. These people who are coming into the U.S. are starting churches. We used to talk about foreign missions. These people are people who want, their parents or grandparents or great-grandparents got touched by foreign missions a long time ago. These are second and third and fourth generation Christians who are coming to the U.S. with the gospel already and wanting to continue to foster it. It's getting to the point where missionaries from Africa are coming to the U.S. to convert people to Christianity. I don't know if you knew that or not. And this is part of that, these people coming from all over the world and wanting to be part of something bigger. And that's what's kind of cool about it. Because we're only Christians, one of the basic ideas of our church is that you can do things in different ways and still be part of one church. You don't have to have the same kind of music. You don't have to have the same kind of organization. You don't have to use the same kind of language. And what that means is all these different churches, all these different people coming from all over, they say, we want to be part of something that isn't just us, but we still want to be able to be us. And they're fitting pretty well. And so all of these people, all of these different kinds of people, all of these different looking people, all these different acting people, are all able to come together and be part of something more than they were before. And I think it's kind of cool. Here we sit in Connersville, and we got some good stuff going on, but it's easy to wonder what whether anybody really thinks of us. And the church that we're part of, there are people from all over the world who want to be connected to us here in Connersville. That's kind of cool. They're seeking out a chance to be connected to us. And I'll tell you, we go to one of the assemblies, one of the gatherings, and there really are. In Indianapolis, people from all over the world who have come because they want to be connected to what's going on here. And that's something to lift up. Something to lift up, that people can be having their worship in Samoan or Spanish or Korean or whatever language, doing their traditions, and we can be here doing our traditions and know that we're brought together because Jesus is bigger than anything in the world. And God binds us together with something that is more powerful than nationality or ethnicity or any of that. That's what these Bible readings were about. That they're about the house of God being for all people. They're about God being for everybody. And back when those Psalms were written, that was a weird idea. That one God could belong to all the nations, that all the nations could belong to one God. The idea that people from every country would all want to worship the same God was a strange, strange thing. But you find this in one of the quotes, "My house shall be called a house of prayer for all people." That was a vision they had back when they had a temple and a place where people came to worship God. It wasn't just for the Israelites, it wasn't just for the Jews, it was for everybody. And today, one of the things we believe as Christians, I mentioned this even in my prayer, the house of God isn't a building. There's only one God, right? So in the time of the Israelites, there was only one temple. It was in Jerusalem, it was one building. And the buildings, that's why they called them synagogues. They weren't God's house, they were places where people gathered to learn. That's kind of what our building is. It's a place where we gather to learn. But God's house, according to the Bible, according to the gospel, is a house made of us. Where Paul says, he says, "Do you not know that you are God's temple and that God's Spirit dwells in you?" And he's not talking about, when he says you, he kind of means y'all. He doesn't mean each one of us individually. He says that too. He means all of us together make up God's temple. And so all of us together doesn't mean just all of us in this room. It means all of us around the world who are joined together to be God's temple. All of us who used to be around the world, who are now in Indiana and Ohio and Kentucky, who are joining together to be part of something bigger. And here's the thing, because it's nice, we can feel good that all these people from all around the world want to be with us. But if they're with us, if we're one body, if they're part of us, then we're part of them too.